Legion of Doom. What's up, everybody? It is WrestleZone. If you're with us live, don't forget to share the link, get your comments in there, or you are the one who's so much to get into. We're talking AEW. We're talking WWE NXT. 2 eventful episodes. Come to you on the air after a very, very eventful Wednesday night. WWE and NXT brought it on both the USA Network and TNT. We had quite the offerings tonight. I'm not alone. John Clark joining me from Central Pennsylvania. John covered NXT. I covered technically both tonight. I don't enjoy watching both at the same time. It tends not to be my thing. But John, we had to make sure we were covering all the different angles. We, of course, had a very, very busy day. I would be remarked if we didn't open the show and obviously talk about the big story of the day, the passing of one of the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time, the legendary Animal of the Road Warriors. We learned the sad news today that he passed away at the age of 60. Obviously, we lost his tag team partner, Hawk, many, many years ago in the mid-2000s. But I mean, when you think of the greatest tag teams of all time, if the list is short, it will always have the Road Warriors and Legion of Doom on it. Absolutely. Let me make sure I got you back on here, John. Go ahead. Go ahead, everybody. Go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Definitely a sad day. It's always a sad day when, we lose a legendary wrestler like that. And I've been amazed by the support that people have been showing him on Twitter and on Facebook, and I think it's pretty amazing, and it shows how special he was to the professional wrestling industry.
Absolutely. And like I said, to a lot of people, these people think, a tag team, someone passes away, something like that. But this is a team that came out in the 80s, and I think for some, 30s kids, like people in their 30s now, they still feel like kids watching wrestling. There are teams and characters really that stood out and stood above that. You felt that emotional outpouring when Macho Man passed away some years ago. That was a big story. This was covered across the world. This went well beyond the wrestling media bubble.
Sort of like, of course, the other Warrior did, Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, and that was a very, very big story here. A lot of people with their thoughts chiming in all day at WrestleZone.com. It was a very, very big story for us. Sean Armbruster saying RIP Animal forever. Yes, a sad story. 60 years old, he passed away. We don't understand the circumstances of his passing, and maybe more will be revealed about that in the weeks to come. Obviously, his family tweeting out, asking for privacy and appreciating the support from the wrestling community. And it was certainly a huge story across the wrestling world today. And a sad one. And certainly you think of a great legacy that the Road Warriors and Legion of Doom leave behind, in the sense of that they were a tag team that was really, for the most part, a main event act. When they came up in the 80s and 90s, they were main event. And also a lot of people say, they weren't strictly just a WWE thing or strictly just a WCW thing or an NWA thing. They went around the world. They were very much a world act. And that was shown off in their Dark Side of the Ring episode, which did talk about the substance abuse issues, specifically with Hawk, the violent world that they came from, where they were bouncers and they got into fights at bars, and how those real life things kind of molded their characters in the ring. I heard many, many great memories about the performances in the ring. These you got to understand, these guys were bodybuilding, bouncer, roughneck guys who became wrestlers. They liked wrestling, but they became wrestlers. They were recruited and they were brought into it. And from the day they debuted, they were treated like champions. They were, the first time you ever saw them on television, they were given titles from a different territory, and came up through the territory system and wrecked everyone. They've always been positioned to wreck people. and did some dynamic things later on. You know, you had some stuff with them in the Attitude Era. You had some stuff with them in Japan. If you enjoyed the height of NWA in the 80s, they were a big part of it. So a lot of great moments. And obviously, I will be checking some of those out on the network this week to come. So other comments from different fans texting in here. Daniel Z texting here saying, just last night, he was celebrating with his wife for their anniversary. Such a tragic loss. Absolutely. Laura Rock texting in, and once again, that mentioning Laurinaitis' son played football. Yes, I believe he reached the NFL. I know he was Division I for sure. So, and other people noting other great names like the Dusty and the Road Warriors have reunited yet again.
His son is actually an announcer now for Fox.
Somebody got to you on that as well with the NFL games. Stephen Chambers with you on that one.
He knows. Chambers knows what's up.
He knows what's going on. So certainly a sad day. Obviously, if you're an NFL fan, a Chicago fan, this is a big day. We lost Gale Sayers, one of the greatest Chicago Bears of all time, passing away at 77. So a hard day if you're a fan of Chicago wrestling and Chicago sports. Just a hard day there. So definitely, as we kind of follow this story, we'll have all of it for you at WrestleZone.com. So let's get into the night that was wrestling, WWE, NXT, both shows quite strong tonight. And if you're with us live, go ahead and sound off. Get in the comments below. Let us know what you guys thought of this. If you're with us on YouTube, we want to hear from you guys as well. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like it. If you're with us on Facebook and you're like, hey, I didn't know they do these live streams and these podcasts live. Well, here's how you do that on Facebook. This is the weird thing. Not a lot of people know this. You like our page and then you have to follow it. So that's kind of how you get the notifications, right? So definitely check that out, or just download the podcast. A lot of fun stuff in the podcast this week. We have interviews up this week with Dustin Rhodes from AEW, Conrad Thompson telling us a lot of the back door of the podcast business has opened up with him this week. Had a great conversation with him and Dominic D'Angelo. And if you're just an AEW fan, on Friday we dropped the AEW exclusive show, 2 Dynamite Dudes with Attitudes. So check that out. So we have hours and hours of content. The thing to remember, guys, is no Patreon, right, John? We're not asking them for any money for this extra content. You're getting hours of free stuff that I know a lot of you enjoy. So all we ask is you share it, pass it on, and tell people it's good. When people bring up podcasts, you're like, oh, what podcast you listen? Tell them about WrestleZone. That's all we can ask for. Tell them about us on the tubes and the podcasty stuff. All right, plug, all that good stuff. So, John, you watched NXT. I watched AEW. And I watched NXT. I did the 2-screen thing here. It was kind of difficult tonight. But this was a very eventful night for AEW. As we learned this afternoon some discouraging news. It seems to be not super serious in what we know. But the man who was positioned to challenge Jon Moxley for the AEW Championship in just a few weeks on television is in no condition to do that, as he has tested positive for COVID-19. That news revealed this afternoon. Moxley then saying he would defend the championship on his Twitter. He did not say who it would be, and we learned just a few hours ago that it would be Eddie Kingston. This was a very surprising choice by them. I won't get into the match, but what do you think of just how everything kind of came together here? COVID-19 is causing these shakeups across sports entertainment quite a bit, especially in wrestling.
I think one of the most important things to consider today, especially in pro wrestling, is at this point, I think you should always have a backup plan. You should always know, okay, what if this doesn't go right? What if we need to do something else? Then they don't have to scramble at the last minute, and I think that would be a very smart strategy.
And it did. I wouldn't say they scrambled. I didn't get the idea that, obviously in wrestling, I don't think anyone's scrambling. But it did feel like this was put together. And you saw early on in tonight's Dynamite, especially after the first segment, that they wanted to make this show special. Like, hey, we know you're not getting Archer, but we're going to give you something special. Someone you've been talking about and enjoying, in Eddie Kingston. We're going to put him in this title situation. I enjoyed it. I thought the match was strong. I wouldn't describe it as great. Did it live up to my expectations? It was there, but they definitely made Eddie Kingston look like a formidable guy in the ring with Jon Moxley. This wasn't a blowover. Obviously, Eddie Kingston is certainly someone who has his stripes in wrestling. 18 years. They mentioned it several times. And he's a guy that a lot of people never thought you would see on television at this level. So the fact that he's there is very satisfying. Very, very satisfying. If you're a longtime fan of him through the independent wrestling ranks, through AAW, through Chikara, through all the different places people have seen him before he got to what people consider a mainstream promotion. There's no rip to anyone else. So he hung in there. They did a lot of chopping. They did a lot of slow it down. This wasn't a super fast match. The time was used. And Eddie Kingston got caught in a sleeper hold. He even had to be told he got passed out. He didn't tap out. He got passed out. He got choked out here. So they definitely gave him some bravery there. As much as you can was a submission finish. And then we get Eddie Kingston's running partners in Pentagon, and Ray Phoenix run into the ring. They attack Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley's recent running buddy, Hobbs, Will Hobbs hits the rings, and he saves the day. Then Ricky Starks from the Taz team comes in and gets into it with Darby Allin, who's trying to save the day with his skateboard. It was kind of all over the place. This finish was all over the place. I guess we're getting matches with these guys next week, different pairings and stuff like that. But it felt like they threw a bunch of things in at the end, and it took away the steam of Eddie Kingston getting a shot and Moxley looking like a strong champion. And it felt like it felt like they just tried to do too much in the last few minutes. Like it was rushed because they did that about 9:54 my time, and it felt like they crammed in a bunch of different things at the end. It was a little bit much, and it took away from the match itself. And it seems that Eddie Kingston is not done with Jon Moxley. But he got choked out in this match, so there wasn't like a dusty finish that would give you the opening for him to come back here. What do you think of Eddie Kingston hanging in there with Jon Moxley?
I mean, you couldn't, after the hype of the match they were originally supposed to have, you can't choose a replacement and go in there and have it be a blowover or a squash match. You have to make it interesting, and I think they definitely lived up to that expectation. Could they have done a little better? Maybe. I mean, everybody knew who was going to win. There was no surprise there. So I think what they had to work with, I mean, they made it work.
Luke Goddessart is a fan of the show. I guess he knows you're anti-AEW. You're anti-AEW. You are so anti-AEW, aren't you, John? Cover your face because it isn't elite. He says, did John Clark finally watch AEW tonight? No, we had him covering NXT because we had to do this post show. I watched AEW NXT on two different
I took one for the team. I watched
you didn't take one for the team. Everyone always says that NXT is a great show. You got some great stuff to cover.
Oh, and trust me, I think it's better. So
all right. Whoa, look at the big balls on John. I just wanted to say that line from Pulp Fiction.
Here come the comments.
Here come the comments. People saying John MVP. They're feeling it for sure. Other takes here. Jason Michael Campbell said Eddie Kingston wants a reunion of LAX in AEW. They didn't go that route. If they were going to go that route, I think they already would have. So they have him with a completely different group. Other comments here about people from AEW about the different pairings here. I'm trying to find one. A lot of people liking tonight's show, as we always do. We ask you for your 1 to 10 rating. People are giving a 7.5 for AEW. They enjoyed it here for sure. Other people giving it an 8 out of 10. Other highlights on tonight's AEW included the opening segment, a debut match for Miro, the best man, formerly known as Rusev. He was featured prominently on their 1.1 million viewed episode a few weeks ago. Kip Sabian, his running partner, the man who introduced him to AEW, took on Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela. This was a strong match, though it wasn't clear if when Miro took a stumble outside of the ring near the end that he maybe sprained his ankle or had an ankle roll. There was a maneuver then where he kind of had to like stabilize himself and pop over Kip Sabian to land on Joey Janela over the railing. It looked like Kip Sabian took quite the spell from this. It was moving a little bit too fast there at the end. Fun match. I wouldn't call it a barn-burning debut, but, Miro came out at the end. He laid out Sonny Kiss, stomped on the back, and tapped him out the way they should go. Miro and Kip Sabian, maybe they could become a real team and something formidable. What do you think of Miro so far in AEW?
Well, he's been on the sidelines for a couple months, you got to think now. I mean, obviously he's probably been training, but he looked
he looked fantastic. Physically, he looked real jacked up and ready for this. But the injury, though, I don't know if it's clear. Maybe that was just a part of the match, but they didn't really plan it in the rest of the match. It didn't look. I mean, he performed the rest of the match, but it was like maybe a rolled ankle or something like that. But he was still stomping in the ring and doing his thing.
Yeah, so I definitely like that he's doing something because if you remember when he first left WWE, he was kind of putting off the impression where like his wrestling days were behind him, stuff like that, And for a while there, it seemed like maybe he was seriously just interested in the gaming stuff, and then almost out of nowhere, here he is, and he looks good. So I mean, good for him.
Other highlights on tonight's AEW. We talk about the good, then we cover the bad. I enjoyed the singles match between Adam Hangman Page and Evil Uno of the Dark Order. Once again, playing off the idea that Kenny Omega and him are not getting along, former tag team champions together. And people thought that, Hangman would turn on Omega, but it's the other way around. Omega with his passive aggressive commentary the whole time. But Hangman just hanging in there. A more clear-headed Hangman is kicking ass in the ring. A lot of fun back and forth. Surprised that Evil Uno, mostly known as a tag team wrestler, got the highlight here. He took a mean bump on the outside of the ring on the apron. Those apron bumps are brutal. But of course, he had the Dark Order with him at ringside. And the Dark Order, it's weird. They have Colt Cabana there, but he still kind of stands out as a group. And they couldn't, sometimes I was just like, let this match kind of do its thing. Let the match run here. But it was a hard-fought victory through the whole match here. Buckshot lariat from Hangman. He wins here. Strong thing here. I hope they do Hangman versus Kenny Omega down the line singles match. That'd be a great match at Full Gear. And it looks like they're going to do the slow burn with that one, right, John?
Are they going to do the old Sasha Banks Bailey treatment with us?
Not draw it out for 2 years. I don't know if they'll have enough gas in the tank for that.
You get what I meant.
But I think maybe we get this on Full Gear, or we get something before Full Gear. Other people chiming in with their different comments. Keep them coming, guys. And once again, share the link if you haven't yet. Put it up on your Facebook page, your YouTube, your Twitters, all that good stuff here. Other people chiming in here about the show that was NXT and AEW. Don't worry, we will talk about NXT. They had a lot of fun stuff tonight with the Eliminator and Eliminator Gauntlet, and they did create some big things for Takeover. Takeover came together like a very, very big show tonight, and they teased a return. Teased in WWE was teased as well. So this one coming in here from James McIntosh III. He says, my question, since Jericho's having his 30th anniversary, that was teased for I believe the week of October 7th, I want to say. And he says, will AEW be allowed to bring up Benoit? I know it's a touchy subject, but AEW probably won't care if Jericho mentions him, since Chris was a huge part of his career. James, I don't know why you're asking that question. I don't know why it needs to be brought up, because I think Jericho has done many, many things in his career that are much, much more significant than working with Chris Benoit. I understand why people just want to bring up Chris Benoit, because it's not something you're supposed to talk about, right? But there's a reason why it's not something you're supposed to talk about.
There's no point. Like,
there's no point.
They would just basically, I mean, if they really wanted to push their luck and take a risk.
If you brought that up, and they're planning this, I don't know what it is. I assume it'll be some type of big segment with a lot of footage, but how much do they actually own? So it'll be a bunch of different stuff from him in Mexico and Japan, I presume. I assume that they're going to get a bunch of different, like, different things. Yeah. Maybe Turner Broadcasting has a couple of photos of him back in the room somewhere they can use from the old WCW days. But no, I don't think you're going to hear about Chris Benoit, and I don't think you need to. And I think it's silly to bring him up. If you brought that up, no one would be talking about.
Are they even allowed to? Like, I
guess you could, but I mean, like, no one would be talking about Chris Jericho on his 30th anniversary night. They would be talking about, did you hear what they said?
Yeah,
it would just. Did you hear this? It's like you're not getting the right attention then, and I don't think you want to bring it up. Honestly, it doesn't do you any good. It's like, hey, let's just point out a car crash to point out a car crash. There's no development from it, no need for it there. Other highlights on tonight's AEW. It looks like we're getting a full on Young Bucks heel turn here as they smashed Tony Schiavone's phone. It was kind of odd. They're just throwing money at problems. They're really dipping into this. I'm on board with heel Young Bucks, but are they then going to go after heel champions? Like, this was entertaining, but I don't know where this is going, and I don't know if I'm compelled to watch where it's going. This feels like a being the elite thing that's on TV. It feels like indulgence. It's the number one problem I have with AEW is everyone gets to be super creative and fun, but that doesn't mean all of your ideas are going to work. This is funny and entertaining, but this is supposed to be like one of the top acts in the company. I'm supposed to take them seriously. It just makes me take them like they're the guys who throw money and kick people in the face. And I guess there's something to that, but I don't know. I just want to see. It doesn't feel edgy. You know what I mean? It doesn't have the edge and the bite that other things in AEW have, like Moxley, like the angle with Hangman and Omega. It was entertaining. It wasn't that I wasn't entertained by it. But you can double question all these things because this is the brand that's trying to say they're the best in wrestling. And there were some things I saw over in NXT that kind of made me want to change the channel when I saw this. When I saw this, I was like, oh, they're going to do something mean to Tony. And they did. They smashed his throne. Funny line about that later in the night with JR saying, did you save everything in the cloud? Match of the night, though, was a TNT championship match between Orange Cassidy and Brody Lee. This was quite the contest here. Orange Cassidy has been able to counter this last segment, has been able to prove that he can be a comedic performer and still be one hell of a pro wrestler who puts on a banger match. Lots of back and forth. He hung in there with a much bigger Brody Lee and gave him a handful of DDTs, not just one or two, but a handful of DDTs, and came out from underneath, only for Brody Lee to lay him out and have some help from the outside, from the Dark Order, who helped him do it as well. Strong match all around. Everyone contributed. This is the first time where Dark Order actually, I thought, contributed as a goon squad. The two PKs couldn't hold Lee down. The two tornado DDTs couldn't hold him down. Brody Lee looked like a monster. Orange Cassidy did not look like a jabroni losing in this match. But the post-match is what people were talking about. And we heard the infamous music of CODY, who was destroyed just 5 weeks ago by Brody. And Brody returns. It looks like we're going to have CODY versus Brody in a dog collar match. CODY cleared the ring with new black hair, had a very new aggravated look to him here. And a new entrance, very red, lots of pyro. They're gonna have a new serious. He's lost it. He's no longer blonde. He's got black hair, and the black hair doesn't just say his attitude. But come on, John, we know when someone changes their hair color, that means they change their attitude, right?
Absolutely, no doubt about that.
Yeah. So people saying AEW doing a post show on YouTube. Yeah, they do post shows. We're on YouTube right now. Why are you telling me about AEW on YouTube right now? Definitely. There was something really exciting about this. I do think this is a big time match. I thought we were going to get this at some point, especially with the way that CODY got stretchered out of AEW for this big title switch to Brody Lee. This is the way to go. Does this mean the title comes off Brody? I don't know. Does this mean you can hold out until Full Gear? Not exactly clear because, AEW is going to do this title match with Archer and Moxley if Archer gets healthy again and clears COVID before they get to Full Gear. To make that clear, that match isn't coming up. So maybe this is a match they hold off until we get to Full Gear. Would you think that this is a pay-per-view match, right? This rematch?
Yeah, because honestly, at this point, I can't think of somebody immediate that pops into my head that could be a replacement. Me
neither. And a dog collar match just reeks of everything it reeks of CODY loving to do NWA stuff. Like this is everything they're about in AEW. They love to do different things from WCW and in the 80s and those different type of things and reinvent them and rename them, which leads us into a separate story outside of tonight's Dynamite as WWE continues to be in a legal fight with CODY, who is continuing to try and get different trademarks and wrestling terms that WWE owns under the WCW banner. So you saw earlier this year that there was AEW Bash at the Beach, which we know is a WCW pay-per-view, but some of those trademarks slipped. Now, that doesn't mean WWE can't have those on the network. It just means they can't produce new type of licensing things with it and stuff like that. They own the footage, but it changes a lot of different things. They're trying now. WWE is contending you can't get Slamboree or the Match Beyond. CODY has alluded that he would like their war games to be called Match Beyond. Now they were advertising something called Blood and Guts. The pandemic kind of stopped that. That big double cage match didn't really happen, and they had to go in a different direction. We got Stadium Stampede. So it's a challenging situation. You're going to go up against WWE in a legal fight. It's going to be tough. They're not going to give up. And they've owned everything WCW since 2001, and they put it on the network for the last 6 years. So it's going to be hard to get some of those things. Now, if the trademarks lapse and Cody can scoop them up, good on you, man. You follow the legal game. I can't say I back him in this degree. My thing is, we'll just come up with something new and say it's a nod to the old school thing. I think that's fine, right? Like, I don't know why you need all these WC. I don't. Is anyone clamoring for Slamboree to come back? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know why you need something like that.
No, and for somebody that says they're unique and they're not copying WWE and they're not recreating anything they do, they certainly are still trying to take shots every opportunity they get. And I thought it was annoying from the start, but at this point, it's even more annoying. Like, and on the WrestleZone post earlier today that we covered the story on, I commented and I said, well, when you hear that term, what first comes to mind? Like
WCW.
Okay, so not AEW, not Cody Rhodes, not like I just don't get it.
I understand the sentiment of it. You know, the idea is that the sentiment is that my father produced these different types of things, and I would like to. And he said, I want to bring in some of the horses back to the stable, and I get that. But my thing is, like, just create something. You know what I mean? Like, everything about AEW that people find exciting is that it's new and it's not WWE. To me, this feels like a retread. You know, like you're just trying to get something from the past that somebody else owns and has on the Netflix of wrestling, right? So I don't know. Is it worth it? You know, is it worth all of this stuff? And so it's kind of an odd thing here. But
I strongly doubt they actually win. If they do, I'll be surprised.
Who knows? Who knows? I mean, we didn't expect we were going to get a bash at the beach on TNT ever again, but we got one. We got Matt Hardy. I didn't like this segment here. Matt Hardy came out. He alluded that somebody else attacked him backstage, and he's with Private Party. And then Jericho comes out, and they start trash talking each other. And he says he doesn't give a shit that it's his birthday. Sammy Guevara returns to the Inner Circle. The Inner Circle's talking to him. Mark Quinn says he wants to challenge Jericho. Isaiah Cassidy says, no, I've gotten close to beating you, so I'm going to fight you next week. What if a 23-year-old kid from the streets of Brooklyn beats Chris Jericho? This felt the most WWE of an AEW thing I've seen in a while. This guy comes out, this guy cuts off this guy. Like, no one, it didn't settle into a lane until, all right, here's the match. I knew we were going to get a match, but it didn't have a beat to it. Didn't have like a decent rhythm to it. And it was the first time where I saw something with Chris Jericho on AEW where I was like, every time he's out there, he comes out, he gets treated like the biggest star on the show, the million viewer man, the demo god. People sing the song. I agree, but this, like, it felt like there were too many moving pieces around anything to settle into one lane, you know? And it didn't make me super excited for the match next week. I want to know what they're doing with Chris Jericho. I did like his interaction backstage with MJF, where they were alluding that one of them called each other a loser, and they were actually talking about losers like their limo drivers and Tony Schiavone. That was entertaining. It showed two big stars able to kind of acknowledge that they are a-holes, and you two are an a-hole. You know what? You're all right. You're all right. I liked that. It was very entertaining. Enjoyed that. This other segment with all these other people in it, not too great. It didn't really do any favors. Didn't make me super pumped for a match. Another one that was similar to this was FTR. I don't know if Tully Blanchard forgot something in this promo, as Tully Blanchard introduced the 20-minute brush with greatness. And it wasn't clear to me what exactly a 20-minute brush with greatness was in the promo. And he said their opponents next week will be SCU. What is that? It came out clearer on commentary that a 20-minute brush with greatness is you get 20 minutes with the champions. And if you don't beat them, they win the match. And that's your brush with greatness because they're the greatest tag team in the world. It was good. It wasn't great. And these guys are supposed to be great. You know, like it just felt like it underserved them. I don't know. There was something confusing when Tully was delivering some of these lines here. And then the best friends interrupt them and they want a match. Looks like they're going to match. And then FTR says, you know what? No, we're not going to do this. You guys are beat up from that big parking lot brawl last week. We're gonna hightail and hope you guys heal up, and you call our manager, and maybe we'll hook you up with a title shot down the line. And then FTR called them weenies, Weenies. Did does weenies connect with you as a biting insult?
Reminds me of something that Vince would tell him to say.
Like I said, this is just another one where it just felt like there was too many pieces moving around. Both these segments, too much going on. Nothing settles into a lane, and then we get the thing that is the thing we were supposed to get the whole time, and it's just like, all right, why do we have to do 15 backflips verbally to get this? You know, like it was a little bit too much. Too many cooks in the kitchen. Jay Feliciano, a man who knows something very much about the world of professional wrestling, says MJF Jericho long-term booking could be the feud of 2021. I agree, but then who's the heel? Who do I cheer for? It's got to be Jericho, right? It's got to be Jericho if they go that way. We got a tag team match with featuring people that got into a physical fight during their match last week. Ivelisse and Diamante took on Thunder Rosa and Hikaru Shida. Thunder Rosa, the NWA Women's Champion. Hikaru Shida, the AEW Women's Champion. A strong match. Nothing like a barn burner, but I think a lot of people were watching this based on news we got last week that Thunder Rosa and Ivelisse were taking real shots at each other. Were shooting on each other. And Thunder Rosa doing this because she thought Ivelisse was not selling properly for her, and they were getting into it before they even got on camera. And many people within AEW have told WrestleZone and several other outlets that they were surprised that this match even got on the air because it was taped. So we did get this match. Strong win for Thunder Rosa and Hikaru Shida. I wonder why they keep featuring Thunder Rosa on TV as the NWA Women's Champion. Hikaru Shida, though, getting the pinfall, and she needed that. I did think at some point she was getting a little bit overshadowed by Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, definitely looks like they got these two champions that are on the kind of like the same same show, same team, whatever, but it's like they're really just trying to keep solidifying their women's division and properly build them up as a whole.
And they've had a lot of injuries. They've had a lot of talent get stuck overseas. So I mean, they've had a lot of different curveballs thrown at them. And I would say that part of AEW has probably been the worst affected during the pandemic period. But that was AEW. I enjoyed it. There were some weak spots that didn't really connect with me and some fun stuff that really did. Eddie Kingston challenging for the title was something special to stay tuned for. They amped it up through the show. Miro's debut was fun, but nothing was super fantastic. I wouldn't call it the worst AEW or the worst wrestling show I've seen this week on Monday Night Raw. All right, so this was not like that, okay? We got some exciting stuff from WWE, NXT, AEW felt they were going to counter with some very, very strong things tonight. Not everything's looking bad. It just felt a little bit off the mark. I give this week's AEW a 7 out of 10. A 7 out of 10. Absolutely go check out Eddie Kingston versus Jon Moxley. Some confusing booking things around it. But yeah, I enjoyed this week's AEW. I'm looking forward to what they do. I think Cody versus Brody in a dog collar match, though it is a throwback, will be something very exciting. Let's talk NXT. Let's get into it. Let's talk NXT. This was something special. This show was going to be conclusive, give us two big challengers for two big title matches. The NXT Women's Championship now has a challenger, and the NXT Championship now has a challenger at TakeOver on October 4th. Let's get into it, man. They open up with this Women's Battle Royal, John.
Yeah, so they definitely did a lot of fun spots in this match. They did Casey Catanzaro making her Royal Rumble type saves throughout the match. A lot of random women in this match that have never appeared in NXT before. I'm not sure if this has something to do with the pandemic and the COVID outbreak, or if they're simply just trying to get numbers for this match. But you could tell immediately from the start that this was going to be a match centered around Shotzi Blackheart, Candice LeRae, Rhea Ripley, and who was the last? Raquel Gonzalez. So they get going, they're back and forth, and of course, it comes to the end. Surprisingly, Ripley and Gonzalez were eliminated. They dominated the whole match, each eliminated at least 4 or 5 people. So it comes down to you got Candice and you got Shotzi Blackheart. And Shotzi Blackheart and Io have had a little bit of history the past couple weeks. Candice, of course, is doing this this pixie type gimmick where they do their promos from their kitchen. She actually attacked Tegan Nox before the match, so she could not be involved in this. And in the end, Candice LeRae did pick up the win, and she will be the challenger for Io. What do you think, Kevin? Who do you think's going to?
It's been a long time for Candice LeRae to be in this position. I mean,
Absolutely.
she came into NXT with a ton of hype. I think when she signed with WWE, and she was signed by WWE a long time ago,
This is
before
like
there
what,
was even like she's been with WWE for
6,
over 2
7
years.
years?
Yeah, long time. But I mean, the name on her, the buzz on her was through the roof. I mean, people talking about her coming out of Pro Wrestling Guerrilla and all these magnificent matches she was having. That infamous image that went viral of her covered in blood and the tag team matches she had and the intergender stuff she was doing. She had a lot of hype coming into WWE. And I do think with WWE, when people see someone coming to WWE that has some momentum from outside, they want to see that fulfilled and rolled over. Another superstar who came in from outside WWE did not have that fulfillment rolled over tonight. But LeRae did, and it's been a long time coming for her. It's been a long, long time coming. She clearly has developed even on top of what she came to WWE with in being a character performer. You mentioned these promos at her house. Some of those have been good. Some of those, like Come to the Gargano's House, have been entertaining. Some of them have been off. But Candice has really stepped up her character game. Like, I thought it was right to turn her heel. I thought this was a smart move to do. And I do think that she's doing a good job with it. Also, I want to see her get beat up. And when she came in NXT, she was so lovable and fun and like had this bright, sprightly energy. It was like a more mature version of the, fangirl Bailey, if you will. And it was a little bit more, had a little bit more edge, like a punk rock girl. We had a little bit more there. And this one, kind of like a twisted pixie vibe. I like it. It's cool. It reminds me a little bit of Alexa Bliss. I'm digging it, and I think she's doing a good job. And I do think she will get that belt off Io Shirai. I think Io Shirai has had her run. I think Io Shirai is needed on Raw or SmackDown. I think this could be the way to send her off. Io's had some good runs, but I feel like there's a ceiling with Io. It's been met. I think the time is right, and the title switch needs to happen. And LeRae needs to be a villain. She doesn't need to win this clean. She needs to scrape and claw and cheat and connive her way to get that strap. I liked it. This was a good women's battle royal, and I don't think anyone else came off looking like a real dork either.
Yeah, I agree. I believe there was a small period of time when Io first won the belt that you kind of needed to take some time and solidify more women in the division. And now that they have Shotzi, they have Ripley, they have Gonzalez, they have Candice, and I believe they have enough women now built up, known to the casual fans, even the hardcore fans, that, Io can move on now. And I think that this is the perfect time to do that.
A man who was in action tonight that we haven't seen in a few weeks was Ridge Holland, a big import for NXT from the NXT UK division. I was tweeting with some fans tonight at WrestleZone Comp. A lot of people making Brock Lesnar comparisons tonight. DeLuca was fed to him in kind of just a jobber match. It was a fun match, but the overhead suplexes, he's crushing people. He has a lot of speed with power. What do you think of Ridge Holland here? Laura Rock texted in saying that she liked his performance as well.
I awkwardly really enjoy his theme music for some reason. It's actually like a real song, but that's besides the point. So yeah, I don't get any ideas really where they're going with him. I mean, they're making him look strong right now, but I just wonder, like, what is their long-term goal booking wise with him, because he is a big guy. But it almost seems like they're introducing him in a similar way they introduced Karrion Kross,
where he'll wreck people for a long, long time, and then
Yeah.
when he gets a title shot, it'll make sense.
Yes.
So I agree with that. I don't mind that because that's how you keep your bench hot. You know what I mean? That's why AEW was able to go to Eddie Kingston, who's been on TV now for 1 or 2 months and cut these great promos, and he's a big character. So yeah, let's put him in a title match. It didn't feel like it was out of place. Like he can jump the rankings because somebody got sick and we got a replacement. So I get it. It's entertainment too, guys. Don't put sports before entertainment in this regard.
We also got a match announcement for Takeover. We covered this a little earlier on WrestleZone. Johnny Gargano is getting a championship match for who knows why.
Yes, he will challenge Damian Priest for the North American Championship. Damian successful last week against Timothy Thatcher. They got a little bit into it later on in the night. They had Io Shirai get in the face, Candice LeRae, And then Johnny came in and he started doing, and boom, the door kicked in, and here's
We have a
Damian
tag
Priest.
team match next week officially.
Yep, we're getting a mixed tag team match. It kind of made itself. I don't mind that. If you're going to do that, you better have a good reason to. And also, Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae were in what I thought was one of the best mixed tag matches of all time a few months ago with Keith Lee and Mia Yim. If you haven't seen that, yeah,
I think we are going to get the mixed champions here. I think that we will see Gargano and Candice both walk out with championships. And it's smart if WWE wanted to do this.
Mm-hmm.
The North American Championship was the perfect one to do it because the NXT one can be separate from this little story.
And they brought that up like at least 2 or 3 times. That, hey, these two could be the first married couple to win titles on a pay-per-view. They brought it up at least 2 or 3 times. Enough where like you're like, I'm not supposed to forget that, like I'm supposed to remember that. And and I'm just saying that as a fan. I'm saying that having 2 TVs on tonight, that dug through the noise here. That is a thing that WWE people forget about WWE is that they're pretty good about. Is like they're good about the repetition that annoys you is the thing that works. Like that when they get something that works and they repeat it enough, it's to get it in your head. Also, maybe you're not watching the whole show. Maybe you didn't win. You didn't see Candice win earlier. They're trying to bring everyone in, not just the hardcore fans. So I get why they're doing that.
Yeah.
Tell me about this big Gauntlet Eliminator here.
Well, before we get there,
I'm jumping ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You're jumping ahead. We had Sherlock Dango tonight.
This was funny. I did love
this.
This
is for the basically where we're moving with the tag team championships now. And Fandango had this brilliant idea where, well, we have 4 teams that want a shot at the gold. So let's take one member from each team, randomly put them in a team, and have a 2-on-2 match where the winning team will then have a 2-on-2 match next week to determine the number 1 contender. Ultimately, we're going to see Undisputed Era taking on Oni and Danny. Number 1 contender match. What do you think? Are we going back to Undisputed Era again?
I love this. I thought the tag team match was good. The idea of the way they did it wasn't just like another, hey, this team beats this team that gets into it. Was let's take all these teams that all have their own say going at Fandango, a very comedic tag team, but all these other teams are pretty serious. Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch are serious. These 2 transatlantic brawlers, they're serious. Undisputed Era, they're broy, but they're serious, And, Santos's boys, they're serious. And I like the setup of it doing comedy to set up this match that felt confusing when they set it up. William Regal, the general manager, had this pitch to them by the Sherlock character. I love that Danny Burch had to translate it to him in CODY English slang. And then I thought this was the funniest. This made me laugh right away. And then it made sense what the match was going to be. But this was the funniest segment on both shows tonight. In terms of like the biggest laugh that it got, and usually people think AEW is a funnier show. I thought this was the funniest thing I saw tonight. I thought it was very clever. I thought the match was good. I like the idea that Roddy didn't shake his hand at the end. He's I'm still not respecting you. They've done Burch and Lorcan versus the Undisputed Era. Specifically, I believe they did. It was Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, and this was at an NXT Takeover. I want to say 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
This is one of the best tag team matches I ever saw. So even though Kyle O'Reilly is not involved, I'm very excited for this. I think this can be one of those matches that really gets you thinking like, God damn, NXT's got some tag teams they've been sleeping on, and a lot of people were thinking that with Imperium, they were sleeping on that tag team, like that they were sleeping on the tag teams they have, and that AEW is really blowing them out of the water with tag team wrestling. I think this could remind you that they have a bunch of studs that can do something really, really special with, and some characters as well. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm into this. Tell me about other things we're coming on here. I didn't mean to jump ahead on the Gauntlet Eliminator.
No, you're good.
I went ahead like 45 minutes.
Yeah. The only really other thing to note was that they had Austin Theory in a match again where he looked good but lost to Damian Priest, and they had Johnny Gargano do a little backstage segment where he kind of like was almost sticking up for him and saying like, Don't pick on this guy. Like I've been watching you. I know you have what it takes, and it's like, why?
Who knows? There's a lot going on with Austin Theory that people are speculating on. Obviously, this guy was believed to have had COVID at some point, but has never confirmed it. He was accused of some stuff in the speaking out movement, but then he's been back on TV. I've seen some backlash every time he's on television. He had a match a few weeks ago with Bronson Reed, where some people thought he was overselling in a match where he was, feeding his body to the big man. And we got a little bit more of that tonight, and it becomes distracting. Are they alluding to this in the performance, in the storyline, that, he's being held back? He's an impressive guy, but he's not fulfilling on his potential. What do you think here?
I think it's hard to read what they're trying to do. I mean, I've been trying to figure it out the past couple weeks, and honestly, I just think that they're just putting him in matches to make other people look good, really.
But then why follow up with a promo? Why set him up with the promo? The Damian Priest match he had, it was good. Wasn't great. It was fine. It was short too. I did think they were kind of rushed for time. NXT is now live, and I think there's a little bit more of a time crunch on them. Yeah. And they can't edit around things for time. I get what they're going for. Make Damian Priest look strong, but I thought you could have fed somebody else to him if you wanted to do something interesting with Austin Theory. Just my take.
Yep. Now we can talk about the Gauntlet match.
Yeah, we can talk about the Gauntlet. Because woo boy.
So we start out with
this was me. Hold on, I have one screen over here. I was doing this once it started, I was on board. It was slow going at the start. Kyle O'Reilly and Kushida opened this thing.
Yep. So they started out, they're back and forth a little bit. We get a commercial break, and then Bronson Reed enters the ring. He takes both guys out immediately, and then just as Kushida's about to get up and make his own move, Velveteen Dream comes out of nowhere and absolutely lays out Kushida. Reed jumps off the top rope. Boom, 1, 2, 3. And Kushida, which was the favorite for many people, is the first one eliminated pretty quickly. And which alludes to the fact
that body splash is huge. When Bronson Reed goes off a big man like that does a body splash on you, I don't want to see you kick out. That was impressive. I do know there was the interference. There was the Velveteen Dream thing. That makes sense. It makes sense.
This is where they're going. This is the direction they're going. You always have one non-title match on the TakeOver, and I think this is going to be that one.
And I think it'll be more. And if people want to see Kushida get the shine, obviously he got pinned, right?
He's going to win against Velveteen Dream at
TakeOver. Oh yeah, it's going to be predictable in a good way. I do think this is the idea of let's pair Kushida, who some people think great wrestler, but the character isn't connecting. And Velveteen Dream's character, whether you hate him and you want to read all that news, you care. You care about what he does, and you want to see someone beat him up. And I do think people would get behind Kushida beating up Velveteen Dream. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because I know it's leading to a match. This isn't like Kushida's got pinned and he's out of there. You're not going to see him for another. He's going to be on 205 Live in a few weeks or something.
Yeah, he's out of there, and then we get Thatcher, and then we also get Grimes into the ring. So we do have 4 people in the ring at once. They're in there going back and forth. Mm-hmm. Very good, hard hitting. And some high-flying action between these guys. And then suddenly we are down to O'Reilly.
Mm-hmm.
And we are down to Grimes.
Mm-hmm. And Thatcher was hanging there for a little bit.
He was hanging in there, and Grimes hits his move. He thinks he's got the win. O'Reilly puts his feet on the rope. Grimes, staying in character, starts jumping up, dancing around, saying, "I can't believe I won. And the like,
he's always so over the top. Cameron Grimes is a really underrated performer.
He is. Yeah, he definitely is. O'Reilly locks in a submission, and within 3 seconds, Grimes taps out. It was very quick. Very, very quick tap out.
They were pressed on time because I was watching AEW. Their match ended at I want to say 9:56. So they had to rush and get all those people in there to do that show ending thing that AEW had. I think with NXT, they wanted to slow it down. Okay, the match is done, and we want it to be clear that Undisputed Era is okay. Because they
come out. Yep.
They came out. You had Adam Cole and you had Bobby Fish, not Roderick Strong, come out, and they were kind of cool. And I thought, is this where they break up the team? Is this what they do? Like O'Reilly won, and you don't understand that Undisputed Era is all about Adam Cole getting title matches and you guys just winning the tag belts, right?
And that is what. Go ahead.
They didn't do that. They didn't. Yeah. That was very surprised that they didn't do that because that would just be predictable, right?
they are going to save this for TakeOver, and I strongly believe that one of two things is going to happen. One, Kyle O'Reilly is about to win the match, and he somehow gets screwed over by Undisputed Era. Maybe they accidentally cause a distraction, something like that. But the second thing that I think is more plausible is that Finn Balor wins clean, and after the match, Kyle O'Reilly is laying in the ring. His teammates come out and they say, well, you weren't good enough to get the job done. They turn on him, and that's kind of because I mean, and we've talked about this last couple of weeks. Kyle O'Reilly has been slowly separating himself from the Undisputed Era by saving random people backstage from attacks, telling people to keep it clean. There's something they're doing. They're leading up to something.
Kyle O'Reilly was my pick, and I thought this was the right way to go. In the build up to this, I think that when you roll with the punches and you do something different, and this was something they were working on, the idea of some dissension within the Undisputed Era that wasn't so obvious. It wasn't just the look over the shoulder or something like that. It was a character change. Kyle O'Reilly not acting very like an undisputed bro. You know what I mean? And everyone else is, and he's not. He's like, I have a different approach now. And I'm excited for it. I've always thought that Kyle O'Reilly had something special in him. My interactions with him in AEW a few years ago, before he got to WWE NXT, was that he was very able to do some things that people weren't seeing from him. He was very much known for a straight ahead athleticism, could trade holds, do the strong style stuff. But we worked on a promo, and I'm just the stick man for it. And we had to change some things in it, and he was still able to get all of the storyline points right there on a point. And we had to go into a completely different space. We were supposed to film it here, and then we had to move into the basement, and then the match was changed like at the last minute, and it was a multi-person thing, and he still hit all of his stuff. The character side, the superstar stuff that NXT enjoys in their top performers, Kyle O'Reilly has, and we've only seen bits and pieces of it. Like, this is a guy who has so much more left in the tank that we haven't even touched on. He hasn't even gone into those gears, and he's already had all these impressive matches as a tag team performer. I think people forgot, especially his time in Ring of Honor. He was super impressive there. I think he can do some amazing things. I think him and Balor are going to have a barn burner match. Balor feels like, all right, you waited too long to put this belt back on me. I'm going to prove something. He loves to prove something. Both these guys have something to prove.
No.
NXT's back up against the wall. They're going to have a banger match in the fourth. They're going to have a hell of a match.
Before we wrap up the NXT conversation, we have to remember there's one other thing that we saw, which was a video package, all green and black.
Yes.
Somebody is returning at TakeOver. Somebody.
Who is returning? What did you get from this video? I didn't get to watch all of it. It flew by. It's on our Twitter feed.
Everybody was saying Repo Man.
It was Repo Man. It was green and it was grainy. It looked like footage. It looked like point of view footage from like one of those like shooter video games, and like everything in the NXT Performance Center area was destroyed and like all over the place. We're getting another destructive character. Is this just Karrion Kross coming back?
The only thing that we know for sure is it's going to be October 4th. Now, people have their rumors all over social media, and for some reason, the most named person. Now, I'm not even going to bring up the CM Punk one because people are saying CM Punk and it's not CM Punk. But a lot of people are saying this.
How do you know that, John? Go ahead.
A lot of people are saying that they think this is Neville.
I don't think it's Neville.
I don't either. I don't
think it's Neville. I don't know the terms of his deal with AEW, but we haven't seen him in AEW in a long, long time. We have not seen him in AEW in a long time, and he is one of those superstars for them that was kind of believed was stuck over in the UK. NXT has their UK division. If he was going to go to WWE, I think you'd see him pop up.
But I don't think it's going to be somebody that like Karrion Kross that's only been on a couple of weeks, like Dexter Loomis, people like that. I think it's going to be somebody that hasn't been there for quite a while. So,
well, let's go through the possibilities here, John. Is there any like big names in WWE that we've seen on Raw or SmackDown that maybe could jump and we could see them appear on TakeOver? I mean, who are those names? Who's on the shelf?
Bobby Roode.
That would be a name. I think Bobby Roode back in NXT would be a really great pickup for them. I think he's done some great.
Slapjack's brother, Flap.
Flapjack? Flapjack's gonna be on the show. Oh man, if you didn't check that out, we did 2 episodes covering the Retribution thing. And
Samoa Joe,
dude, Samoa Joe in NXT would be bad. I would not be against
Bo
that.
Dallas.
Bo Dallas. Herman Takhar saying, what if it's AJ Styles? Don't expect that. Michael Covington saying Bo Dallas. Maybe some
it's either Bo Dallas or Bobby Roode. Those are my 2 guesses.
Bo Dallas would be a surprising pick.
What about you? What do you think?
It's hard to say. I think we're going to get more teasing promos, something that's a little bit more on the nose.
Don't hinder the gender.
Yeah, Jinder Mahal. Yeah, he's been on the shelf though with that injury though.
Ember Moon. I think it's a male. I think we can agree that it's a male.
Who knows? You know, I mean,
Tessa,
who knows?
Tessa.
If they want to bring Tessa over, you know, and we've heard that Tessa Blanchard has been talked about for a long, long time here.
It gives people really a reason to tune in to TakeOver because they know they're going to get something unpredictable, unless, of course, it leaks before then, which is a very good possibility.
A very distinct possibility. Craig Backlund bringing this one up. This one would be interesting. Bring up James Storm, who is a free agent at the moment, no longer under contract with the NWA. Was I believe their North American champion for a while, but NWA can't really, you know, they have Thunder Rosa on AEW, but they don't have their own show back really yet.
Husky Harris.
They're doing those UWN broadcasts, but I know there's been a lot of people in NWA that have looked to get out of it and do some other stuff as things change here in the pandemic. James Storm.
Bad News Barrett.
You know, here's the thing. We didn't have Bad News Barrett on.
Complete guess.
I know. We didn't have Wade Barrett on commentary tonight, which was
or Vic Joseph.
Don't know why we didn't have them on.
They said Vic Joseph had the week off, and Wade Barrett was unable to make it.
Okay.
So there's been rumors about, but
okay, no, we'll touch on that. That was something I definitely wanted to talk about, especially as this is our very NXT focused show. We did cover this on Monday night as the story broke, and then you and I went on air after Raw. Nothing really new has come out on it, but I did want to follow up and make sure fans are aware, because some people, I think Monday was a big heavy news day. We knew we were getting the Retribution stuff kind of right before Raw started, and that's all fans are really focused on. We found out that there was a COVID-19 outbreak within WWE NXT, not within Raw or SmackDown, as they kind of keep those camps of people in their own hotels or in their
for this
homes.
reason.
Yeah, for this reason. And that's why you're doing these things here. They don't have a bubble, but they're trying to bubble people within certain camps, right? And at the Performance Center, there was an outbreak. That is where they believe it has been isolated here. And, WWE not really...
Trainers, coaches, and...
coaches. Then that came into... And trainees, and that came into the crew that is performing for NXT on television at Full Sail University. And it was said to have a direct effect on creative. So who was affected? We don't know. That WWE has not been transparent about everyone who has COVID-19, though they've said some people have gotten it.
But to be fair, I can't really think of any big names that have missed tonight besides the 2 commentators. I'm trying to think of in-ring performers that weren't able to be on the show. I can't really think of any that would have a direct effect on the show. So that's interesting that they did say direct impact on creative, because like I just said, I can't think of anybody that has missed.
But we don't know. Maybe there was someone else they had plans for that they didn't go with. There's we haven't seen Dream. I mean, we had Dream on this week, but Dream was off for a few weeks after the last takeover,
so
right?
You're thinking maybe he had it and got over it, and they had.
And there's some people that get it, and they have an extremely mild.
What I'm getting at is case. If he got it from this breakout Monday, he would not have done what he done today.
No. We wouldn't have seen him here.
Yeah, correct.
We wouldn't have seen him at all. In terms of who this mystery man could be showing up in WWE NXT, this one I think is a very provocative pick. Daniel Bryan. I don't think it'll happen. I think you'll continue to see Daniel Bryan because he's very, very popular on SmackDown or Raw. And they don't want to lose somebody like that. If you're going to see someone come over from Raw or SmackDown, you're going to see somebody who has some name value, but maybe is coming off an injury. Maybe they haven't had a hot storyline. Maybe they had a bad storyline. Ember Moon. I think Ember Moon in NXT is a great call. She's been on the shelf for quite some time with an injury. I think that would be a great call.
Almost like a rehab assignment.
It's kind of true. I mean, and they do, whether or not you want to look at NXT that way, that is kind of true here. So it'll be interesting to see who is the mystery man. The constant mystery man angle has always been done in WWE.
Yeah, it was definitely very interesting to do a segment like that. And all said and done, I gave NXT a 7.5 out of 10 tonight.
All right, so you enjoyed it. And I
did
enjoyed it
enjoy
as
it,
well.
yes.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I would just want to give it the exact same rating. I'll say I enjoyed AEW, but that Gauntlet match had me wanting to change the channel. I was watching two different things. You're like, yeah, very happy. And I thought Eddie Kingston, Jon Moxley had a good match, but I did think they had to put this together as quickly as they could. And the match was exciting. But if you want fast-paced, over the place action, a lot of different storylines, everything slickly moving, but not stepping on top of each other, you were getting that with the Gauntlet Eliminator tonight. It was a fun angle. I want to see another one of these matches. I did think it was a fun thing. If it wasn't Royal Rumble-esque, but it had kind of every 5 minutes, something new is going to happen. So I like that. It was kind of cool.
Gotta look at this last comment. Says that the mystery man might be Pat McAfee.
Oh! That is
interesting.
That is not a bad call. Pat McAfee had that huge match with Adam Cole, the very popular SiriusXM broadcast personality, former Indianapolis Colts kicker, came out of nowhere.
He signed a contract.
And he had definitely, let's just say it, he had the best celebrity becomes a pro wrestler match of all time. Like, this was an incredible match. 20 minutes. If you have not seen that, you just heard it was cool, and you just heard the match was cool, and you know the finish, all these different things. Go watch Pat McAfee versus Adam Cole. That was on SummerSlam weekend, and people were saying that was one of the best matches of SummerSlam weekend. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It'll just impress you. And if you just want to be impressed by someone that you don't see coming, you're going to get it out of that match. James Espanto Fernando Taguare. He says NXT was straight fire. He enjoyed it. He said it was straight fire.
Wow.
Steven Chambers said NXT was the better show this week. So some other people agreeing with you here.
Yeah, I think it was. I always do, though.
Yeah, you're at least, I'll give you this, John. At least you put your bias out there. You know what I mean?
I get a lot of flack for it.
Yeah, but you're honest about it. I have Dominic D'Angelo on here, and he loves himself some AEW, and he does our two Dynamite Dudes with Attitude show on Fridays. But he comes on, and I put the tag on him. I was like, this guy, he likes himself some AEW. And Dominic's a smart guy. He doesn't have bad opinions and different things like that. But you and I agreed, like, there was some awful stuff on Raw this week. Hopefully there'll be clear things on SmackDown, and I really, really enjoyed NXT tonight. So I thought a really great night of wrestling all around. Enjoyed the whole show overall, and it just edged out AEW. I thought both shows were strong, really good, and I really, really enjoyed this. I like the idea of NXT doing these long matches that can hold you, and you feel like it meant something. Like, I felt like it meant something. I gave them 30 minutes of a 2-hour show. If I watched all of AEW and then turned over and just watched NXT, that would have been a great show. You know what I mean? I would have had a really good time. And good on them for countering each other and really amping up the grade here. So a good day in the world of wrestling outside of the sad news that we got outside of the ring with Road Warrior. Other things that we're kind of following up on in the world of wrestling that we want to remind you about. COVID-19 issues south of the border in Mexico. Bandito and Ultimo Guerrero have tested positive for COVID-19. This will force a change for the CMLL anniversary show. It tends to be one of the biggest shows for CML. Their 87th anniversary show has gotten quite the shakeup. Those are two big names. They were supposed to be involved in the World Trios Championship match, and that'll now be changed. We don't know exactly how those changes will happen, but we'll have them for you at WrestleZone.com. We also continue to follow the G1 Climax tournament, which is coming together quite a bit. I watched Minoru Suzuki versus Tomohiro Ishii from, I believe, night 1 or night 2. And they just beat the crap out of each other. If you want to see two grizzled veterans hit each other as hard as they can, you'll get it there. You will absolutely get it there. So those are things to follow now at WrestleZone.com. The COVID-19 issue is becoming more and more of a problem here. As we have this in CML, we have this in AEW, we have this in NXT. It kind of brings me into our show closing segment here. We're worried, as everyone is around the world, about a potential second wave. It's definitely an issue now in Europe. And certainly parts of the United States are still having it. There's still thousands of people getting it every day in different parts of the country in the United States. Canada has had a slight uptick, though they have much smaller numbers in the United States. Some people attribute it to population. But we roll with the punches here, and we worry what it's going to be like in 2021. As we kind of talk about this over and over again, it's just speculation. We're not saying we know anything or we know any plans are changing. I've told you about things I've heard from people in the entertainment industry and how those will absolutely affect pro wrestling as a form of entertainment. One thing I think is now something to worry about is the effect of venues that run independent wrestling events. John, by you got many independent wrestling companies along the Mid-Atlantic. What you had Chikara, they're gone. They're not running anymore. Evolve appears to be gone. They can't run.
Big time.
And they're out there. We
no,
don't.
Have you heard of that promotion?
I've heard of big time. Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't connect with me. So much ADD. I was watching so many screens. I got caffeine running through my system. But I bring up why I worry about independent wrestling, because I worry the availability of venues for them to run for 200 or 300 people could get very slim in 2021. The quality of venue that you could run wrestling shows at could come down because some of those venues may not be in operation. And I bring this up in one way, and I go to you guys. I have the link. I'm going to put it up on my Twitter tonight, and it is for the National Independent Venue Association. These are rock clubs, entertainment clubs that are collecting together to get national resources from the United States government to keep them open. And think of the rock club in what's the big rock club you've seen bands at near you, John?
I couldn't even tell you, really.
You come to Chicago, I'll bring you to the Metro. All right. And you know who's played the Metro? Black Flag, the Ramones, Pearl Jam. Every big rock band in the last 30, 40 years has been there. That place could close. It has 100 years of venue, and it's become one of the biggest rock clubs in the country. The Logan Square Auditorium, where Evolve is run, where freelance wrestling is run, they could be in trouble. AAW runs there as well. That could be a venue that could be in serious danger. So definitely reach out and look up the tweet. I have it up, the National Independent Venue League. You can sign a form, and it'll be sent to your local representatives so that national, federal resources can be given to these venues to keep them going. Obviously, a lot of people are asking for charity and different things you can do, but some of these venues can't stay open. You're asking them, maybe in 6 months we get a vaccine. That doesn't mean those venues are going to be the first thing to open, because we're going to have a wave of people getting vaccinated from one side of the country to the next, or one side of the world to the next. And it'll take a long time before we're completely normal again. But I guess we have to get used to the new normal, right? Continue to follow everything we're doing on the socials, on WrestleZone, all that good stuff. And continue to stay safe wherever you are. I really mean that. Wash your hands, wear your mask. You're going to go to an event, make sure it's socially distanced. I'm doing it. I'm going to the Milwaukee Comedy Festival. I've had some people say, why are you telling me what to do? If you're going to go to a comedy show, I've gotten into the arguments already, John. October 8th, I will be at the Pabst Pilot House, Captain Pabst Pilot House, as part of the Milwaukee Comedy Festival. If you know anyone in the Midwest near Milwaukee, tell them about it and direct them to Milwaukee Comedy Festival's website to get their tickets. $15. I'm going to be doing near a half an hour set. I'm really excited for this. I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be a great event. Or just check out the Milwaukee Comedy Festival coming up that week, that second week of October. They're going to have great shows all week long in Milwaukee, and you can get your tickets at their website. Also, looking at doing this, John. We're going to do some watch-alongs at some point in the month of October. I'm going to have those exclusively on our YouTube channel. So if you've not subscribed to our YouTube channel, go check it out. All those interviews I talked about with Dustin Rhodes, we just dropped Conrad Thompson. They're all going to be up there. All right. All the podcasts you see us do, we're up there. So maybe you're a YouTube person. You can also mean you can watch us on your TV. YouTube, you can get on your Roku, get on your Apple TV, put us up on your television. I can yell at your dog from your TV. How about that? So thank you guys so much. If you have dogs, I will yell at them on the show. And we can do that in the future. Thank you so much for supporting the show. You can follow John. Where's the Twitter, buddy?
John R. Clark 12. And
you can follow me at Kev Kellam on the Twitter. And of course, follow at WrestleZone.com. Thanks so much for supporting the show. Hope you had a good time. If you had a really good time, share the link so you don't stink. And John, I believe when we're watching wrestling, even though I have 2 screens on, even though I have a ton of caffeine, and I'm jumping ahead a half of the NXT show before we got to the main event.
Tell me what you did while you were watching it.
I drank too much caffeine and I had too much stuff in front of me, but when I was watching it, I still got to enjoy